by training the teachers to develop critical thinking, to ask children to question, because I think the environment should be here to support children to define what's their role in life, what do they want to be. Now we have to focus on the quality of education. We have to ensure that our children are learning, and also that what they learn will also help them in the labor market.
Let's talk about the residential care for children with disabilities.
I think it's really important to strengthen the ombudsman's office. NGOs play such a critical role, right? A different role from the state or the international community.
Rural areas where most of the population lives often lack quality infrastructure in education, healthcare, and social services.
And we're there to support the office to ensure that they have good reporting mechanisms, that they have a good grievance mechanism. That's such a good question, right? Because the issue of disability is hard for every parent, right? We see a progress in the collection of data in health. We also need to improve in all collection of data in all areas, on violence against children, for instance, on education. And now we have so many digital.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you here to discuss such an important topic. UNICEF recently released the latest situation analysis on children and adolescents in Uzbekistan, an extensive report that sheds light on critical issues. How do you assess the reception of the report by the public, governmental agencies, and the press?
We really appreciate the involvement of so many stakeholders in the elaboration of the situation analysis of 2024. Our last one was 5 years ago, and the situation was different, because we have seen so many achievements in the past 5 years for children in Uzbekistan. So the situation analysis provides an idea of what are the main achievements, what are the main trends, what are the main challenges, and we're very grateful to the Ombudsman's office and also to the Senate. They both launched the situation analysis with us, with UNICEF, and we gathered the contributions from so many ministries, from the young people themselves who participated in letting us know how the situation of children in Uzbekistan is at the moment.
Yes, and with Uzbekistan's population projected to grow by 44% by 2050, reaching 40 million by 2028, there is a pressing need to support the significant young population. Given this, what areas do you believe should be prioritized to ensure that economic and social sustainability keep pace with population growth?
Indeed, Uzbekistan has a fantastic demographic bonus, right? And we should take advantage of it. Right now, we are very proud of what the government has done in the area of education. In the past 5 years, it has increased almost universal access to primary and secondary education. Also, it has enlarged the opportunities for young children to get into preschool. Almost 70% of children are attending preschool in just a very short period of time. This is an amazing, amazing achievement. Now we have to focus on the quality of education. We have to ensure that our children are learning, and also that what they learn will also help them in the labor market. We have to give them the skills so that they're able to do the jobs for the future, and also the jobs that do not exist yet. And I think the best way forward is to equip the adult in the room, who is the teacher, by training the teachers to develop critical thinking, to ask children to question what they're reading, how they're seeing an experiment, a science experiment, by asking questions about how they feel as well, is very important, because education is a two-way street. right? It's not only the teacher giving instructions, but it's actually how the child is processing that information. We also have to accompany it with the right digital tools to ensure that children are learning. So we really want to congratulate the government for the achievements in education. That's the best way to take advantage of the democratic bonus, but also to ensure that we also focus on the quality and also in preparing the context so that children are not only ready and have the skills, but actually the labor market is able to host them and also promote what they know.
Uzbekistan has advanced child rights significantly through policies like 2023 constitutional reforms. Still, despite these efforts, some challenges persist. What areas need further refinement to ensure effective monitoring and realization of child rights in Uzbekistan?
I think evidence generation is important. Uzbekistan has been contributing to evidence generation for 30 years now. We have been in Uzbekistan for 30 years. And I think it's really important to monitor like what we have created with the mix, which was the survey in 2022, with the CITAN of 2024. We're creating this evidence to monitor how child rights are going. I think one of the most critical aspects of child rights is the fact that children are born with rights, right? And to deliver that message to entire populations, children they're not subjects. They're born with rights, with the right to education, the right to freedom, the right to live in a family, the right to health. So I think it's really important to empower those kids to exercise those rights, and also to ensure that that one right doesn't underestimate the other. For instance, we have seen that poverty, that maybe financial poverty is a key aspect, but then, there are other rights like the right to education that might be undermined by financial poverty. So we see poverty in a more holistic way. We see multi-dimensional poverty. So I think it's really key to monitor how children's rights are going, and we're here to support, right, in that monitoring, and also providing evidence to ensure that we have policies based on evidence.
For policy-based evidence, you need data. And my question is related to that. CITAN notes that only 68.1% of child rights indicators are covered by data, with significant gaps in real-time disaggregated data. And in which specific areas is data most urgently needed? What improvements in data collection could have the most significant impact?
The country has done a good job in collecting data, in fastening the collection of data. We have seen some progress in the collection of data, especially in the area of health. Right? We see a progress in the collection of data in health. We also need to improve in all collection of data in all areas, on violence against children, for instance, on education. And now we have so many digital technologies, right, to collect data, to find out what's the state of affairs. We also contribute with You Report for young people, which is also engaging people and also in data collection as well. So I think there are many areas where we can contribute with data collection, and it's really key to form policies.
Following that, the release also mentioned the lack of a dedicated grievance system for social protection, often forcing citizens to use general portals instead of specific tools. And additionally, children in focus groups reported that they lack safe mechanisms to voice concerns and are often discouraged from participating. How is UNICEF addressing these gaps in both grievance mechanisms and children's agency?
I think it's really important to strengthen the ombudsman's office. That office fulfills a critical role in accepting children's complaints and also dealing with the family and the community. And we as UNICEF are very supportive of that office. We were there since the creation of the office, and we're there to support the office to ensure that they have good reporting mechanisms, that they have a good grievance mechanism. Also, we are strengthening, helping the government to strengthen social workers as well, right? And those adults that interact with the child, so that teachers, social workers, everyone around the child, even parenting programs, to ensure that children are able to express their feelings. I think we need to listen more to children. We're used as adults, to tell children what to do, what to think, but I think it's really important to listen more to children and to ensure that we also learn from children. For instance, children are more digitalized than adults, right? They learn quickly. So now it's not only a one-way street in which the adult teaches the child everything. Now we're also learning from children, not only in the digital world, but in other aspects, right? Because children are absorbing an enormous amount of information. So I think it's really important to create those mechanisms to listen to children. We have a very powerful youth program in UNICEF. We're very proud to work with the Samin Foundation and other partners to ensure that young people have the skills to contribute to a better environment, that they have what we call green skills, right? To be able to be more participatory. We're also adjusting curricula and also working with the schools to ensure also that the classroom becomes an ecosystem for listening, in which young people and also children are able to ask questions. And when they ask me, young people, what's the most important question, I always tell them why. That's the most important question that they can ask themselves. Because I think the environment should be here to support children to define what's their role in life, what do they want to be, how do they want to contribute to the community. And I think if we can nurture that, question so that children find themselves, find their roles, find their talents, and are able to use them, then we will have done our job as adults.
The sit-down calls for an enabling environment for NGOs, particularly those supporting children's rights, to enhance participation and policy recommendation. What role do you see for NGOs in raising awareness and driving social behavioral change in the society?
NGOs play such a critical role, right? A different role from the state or the international community. And we work with a lot of NGOs in Uzbekistan and around the world to make sure that they have capacity also to deliver services. A lot of NGOs are keenly equipped to deliver services because they might be ingrained into the community. They're very close to the community where people live, so they're able to assess what people need, right? They're very close to the community. So it's very important to equip non-governmental organizations to address issues related to the community, to be constructive in how they deal with the community. We work with, for instance, non-governmental organizations that work with youth to ensure that youth have the skills to participate, that youth are able to do entrepreneurship, are able to do youth report, participate in data collection. So NGOs are a critical part of how we deliver for children, right? Everyone has a role to play, and NGOs have their role in society. That's why we strengthen NGOs through capacity building.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And let's talk about the rural-urban disparities. It was also mentioned in the release, in the report. Rural areas where most of the population lives often lack quality infrastructure and education, healthcare, and social services. What strategic actions does UNICEF recommend to bridge these gaps, particularly for children who lack access to essential services due to geographic location?
Yes. I think it's really important. There are multiple strategies, and the government has implemented many approaches that take services to the community, right? Sometimes it's very hard for the communities to reach the services. So we need to create strategies that take the services to where people live. One example is the 50,000 visiting nurses who go to where people live and assess their needs and put them in contact with the healthcare system, but also with other services in their community, right? Who are able to, put them in contact with like psychologists or people. They might have a disability, so they put them in contact who can help them or encourage them to send kids to preschool. So that's one example. Another example is to strengthen the role of the social worker. And the social worker is the link between the government, between the National Agency for Social Protection and other entities of the government and the community and the people. So strengthening everywhere the role of the social worker, regardless, if it is Karakapastan or Tashkent, is really important. So there are multiple mechanisms for taking the services where the people are. We're extremely proud of the program that we implemented thanks to the Arals Trust Sea Fund. I visited Karakapastan recently, and I was very proud to see how communities that did not have water now have water thanks to the program. Communities who were very isolated and didn't go to the hospital now are able to go to a hospital and have the equipment that they need to save premature babies or babies with another condition. So I was very moved by what I saw in Karakapastan, and I think it's an example of how we can, when we work with the community, with the local government, and also with the government and the NGOs, we can achieve great results in ensuring that children, regardless of where they live, have the same quality services and opportunities.
Also, let's talk about the residential care for children with disabilities. Given that children with disabilities comprise a majority in residential care, what action is UNICEF taking to improve family-based alternatives and community support for these children? And also, how does UNICEF recommend addressing local customs and norms that may contribute to reliance on institutional care?
That's such a good question. Right? Because the issue of disability is hard for every parent, right? If a parent has a child with a disability, sometimes it's really hard for the parent to even acknowledge sometimes that the child has a disability. And there's a lot of stigma around disability. So one, we need to better equip parents to deal with their children with disabilities, and not only with cash transfers, but also with parenting programs that allow them to keep their child at home and be able to give what that child needs, right? The social services, the health services, the psychological services. So I think it's really important. We are here to support parents, but also to support all the adults working with the child, the social worker, better case management to ensure that that the social worker is able to be in touch with the families and give, the support that they need. Also the same with teachers, the whole community around the child. And also it's really important, to ensure that institutionalizing kids or sending kids to an institution is a last resort. The Convention of the Rights of the Child says that every child deserves or needs to live in a family environment. So it's really important to ensure that we do all the necessary steps so that the institution is the last resort for all of us, right? Children need to live within a family. And for us, that's why we want to do so much family separation prevention, right? We want to strengthen the role of the family, and also we want to equip those families with a child with disability to be able to keep that child at home. We're also working very closely with the NASP, with the National Agency for Social Protection, to do cost benefits for children with disabilities, to ensure that they have the financial means that they need, but also working with the entire system to ensure that children with disabilities are able to be diagnosed earlier. Sometimes we're too late in diagnosing children with disabilities, sometimes even when they are ready to go to preschool. And the first 3 years in the life of a child, they're incredibly important, right? So diagnosing early disabilities will be key to ensure that that child has all the services that child needs. Because even child with disabilities, they can progress, You might not see the progress, that you might expect in another, from a regular child, but you see enormous progress, to be more autonomous, to be more self-sufficient, to be able to operate in his environment, to be able to succeed, in spite of his or her limitations. So diagnosing early is really important. And we're here to, we have a large team, and we can provide all kinds of assistance, whether it's here or bring it from abroad, to ensure that we have the technical know-how and the expertise to ensure that less and less children need to be in institutions, and more children are in family-based care with the right skills, right? From parents and the community.
And this is their rights to live in an environment which is safe and in a family environment in this case. And from your answers, I've noticed that you've emphasized close collaboration between agencies, governmental agencies. In your view, who are the key actors within Uzbekistan involved in advancing child rights, and what roles do they play?
Cross-sectoral collaboration is one of the most difficult things to do, right? It's not really natural to, collaborate and have collaborative approaches, right? But it's really important because when you look at a child is multidimensional. It's not only health, it's not only social protection, it's not only education, it's a combination of all of the above, right? So it's really important to create strategies that speak to each other. One of the things that I look towards the future is a strategy and a plan for early childhood development, in which we bring all the sectors together to ensure that that child has all the services and all the opportunities that that child needs, right? So I think the government is critical, all the sectors in the government. We not only deal with one ministry, we work with all the ministries, emergency, interior, justice, education, health, because children are multidimensional. And I think we need to create strategies and policies that speak with each other so that we're able to benefit that child, so that one policy doesn't hurt another one, right? Because sometimes, we have to look at the detrimental effects on one policy and the benefits of another policy, right? And how they weigh each other. So in policy making, it's very important to work cross-sectorally, and we sometimes play the role sometimes of a convener, right? Because we are a neutral partner for children's rights. So we bring ministries together, NGOs, young people, the international community together to ensure that we have multi-sectoral strategies that benefit children in an impactful way.
Yeah, and it's very important. And what areas is UNICEF Uzbekistan currently prioritizing?
We're currently
is there
working
any program?
on our country program for 2026-2030. And we are prioritizing many areas, right? Because you cannot separate child rights. So we're prioritizing health, especially the reduction of neonatal deaths, ensuring that every child is diagnosed from a disability at an early stage, ensuring that children have their full vaccination program. In the area of education, we're prioritizing access to preschool. We have reached an enormous achievement, 70% of children in preschool, but we still have 30%. We need to ensure universal access to preschool education by 2030. That's our ambition, and it's also the plan of the government. We also need to ensure that the quality of education is there. We have universal access to primary and secondary school, but we need to ensure that children are learning and that children have the jobs for the future. That's in the area of education. In the area of protection, we look forward to operationalizing the law on all forms of violence prevention of all forms of violence against children. It's a new law. We're very proud that the President has signed on this law, which has a prevention effect, but also ensuring that everybody in the system is able to protect the child from the worst forms of violence. And we're ready to work with the government, ensuring that teachers have the skills, that parents have the skills to reduce violence against children. And we're certainly working in ensuring that we have a social protection system that not only looks at the benefits, at the cash benefits, but also the entire services for children. So we have many priorities, and I have to say that I have been here for 6 months, and the achievements that I have seen in 5 years, I have not seen in many countries in a lifetime. So we should work on the achievements that we have and build on those achievements so that children are much, much better off in 2030 than in 2024.
That's great to hear. And my last question is related to your answer. From your perspective, what strength or opportunities does the country have that could be leveraged to tackle persistent issues in child protection, education, and healthcare?
I think youth is amazing. I mean, we have a demographic bonus, and the key game changer in a society is when you provide education, skills, and opportunities to girls. So that's a game changer for any society, right? Because you educate, the President has said it before, you educate a man, you educate one person. You educate a woman or a girl, you educate a family, you educate a community. And I think that's a multiplying effect of educating girls. And I think in our policies, in our programs, we cannot be gender blind. We need to ensure that girls have access to opportunities, right? Have access to quality education and are able to have more autonomy and more decision making. When you do that, evidence shows that when you give the space to girls and women for an education, you grow economically tremendously, right? You progress in so many areas. So I think this is the opportunity that we have now with that demographic bonus to be able to educate girls. Another one is to ensure that we address the nutritional needs of children. For instance, the meals at school is the great game changer. Countries that have introduced meals at school are able to reduce poverty and are able to ensure that girls have and boys have the nutrients in their brains, to be able to cope. Other opportunities are to strengthen, the linkages between learning and earning, right? Ensuring that the market is favorable to the skills that we are promoting. So we have many areas where I can see that we can have some game changers in Uzbekistan in the next.
Thank you once again for joining us today and for the important work you and UNICEF continue to do in Uzbekistan. Goodbye.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.